Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into AI in education. It's moving fast, from like science fiction to reality. We've got 17 academic articles here, all looking at how AI is being used in classrooms globally. And, for you listening, this deep dive is like your cheat sheet to understanding what AI really means, for the future of learning.
What's interesting is this isn't just, theoretical anymore. These studies show AI is already being used in schools, from early childhood all the way up to university.
hmm
And not just in one country either.
So it's not just like a Silicon Valley thing.
Not at all. The research we've got here, it comes from the US, Taiwan, Japan, China, Singapore, the UK, Sweden, Italy. It's global, really. And they're using a bunch of different methods, too. Surveys, experiments, qualitative and quantitative analyses to get a really good overall picture.
Okay, so AI is already out there in schools, but what's it actually doing? I mean, what are the ways it's being used?
Well, one big focus is personalized learning. For instance, there's a study from Taiwan. They found that an AI math tutoring system, it really helps student performance, much better than traditional methods. The system could adapt to each student, their own pace and their needs, gave them targeted instruction and feedback.
That makes sense. I mean, personalized learning is a big buzzword. It's interesting to see actual research on it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not only about adapting to how students learn, they're also using AI to keep students engaged. For example, there's a study about AI chatbots. They're like book talk companions, right? So students can have these interactive conversations with the chatbot about the book they're reading, and that helps them, understand it better and stay interested.
That's pretty cool. I know when I was in school, I would have loved to have an AI to talk about Shakespeare with, Might have made those plays a little easier to handle.
Exactly. And there's a lot of research, too, on how AI can help teachers be more efficient. Think about all the time they spend grading, giving feedback. One study looked at an AI essay grader, and it could, check grammar and structure really well.
So the AI isn't replacing the teacher,
Right.
right? But it's handling those more tedious tasks.
Right. It gives teachers more time for things AI can't do well, like mentoring, discussions, making creative lesson plans.
I see. It's about finding that synergy between the human and the machine.
Absolutely. And it's not all about personalized learning either. Some studies are looking at how AI can teach 21st century skills, like computational thinking, problem solving. So, for example, students might learn to code and program AI robots. And that helps them, think logically and design things.
So it's not just about using AI in subjects. It's about using AI to teach the skills you need in an AI world.
Exactly. Which leads to a really interesting question. How do we prepare students for a future where AI is everywhere?
Yeah, that's a huge question. I mean, even just looking at the last few years, it's amazing how much has changed, and it feels like we're just at the beginning.
You're right. It's moving incredibly fast. But along with those 21st century skills, there was this one study. It said it's also important to teach students about AI, not just how to use it, but like how it works, what it can do, what it can't do, so they can really understand it.
So digital literacy is even more important now. It's not enough to just know how to code. You need to know what it all means.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us to another thing from this research: the challenges, the potential risks of AI in education.
Right, because with anything new, there's going to be some hiccups along the way. So what were some of the concerns from these studies?
One thing that came up a lot was teacher preparedness. Do teachers have the training and support they need to really integrate AI in their classrooms? There was this study in the UK. They found a lot of teachers were nervous about using AI. They said there weren't enough, professional development opportunities and not enough clear guidelines on how to actually, use it.
That makes sense. I mean, having the tools is one thing, but knowing how to use them in a classroom with real students, that's a whole other thing.
Absolutely. And then there's the digital divide. We already have, inequality and access to technology to good education. Could AI make that worse? Could it, leave some students behind?
That's a good point. It's really important that AI doesn't just, widen the gap that's already there.
Right. And there were practical challenges, too. One U.S. study, they found that an AI system, it could grade multiple choice questions really well. But when it came to complex stuff, critical thinking, that kind of thing, it struggled. So the researchers, they said human judgment is still super important, especially for higher order thinking.
So it's not about just, swapping teachers for robots.
Not at all. This research shows we need a balanced approach, something that uses the strengths of both humans and machines. AI can do certain tasks, give us insights, but it's the teacher who, really guides the learning and creates those human connections.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about finding the right balance, the right way to combine them.
Exactly. And as we move forward, it's really important to get teachers involved in the conversation. They need to be part of creating the policies and guidelines for using AI responsibly.
For sure. Teachers are the ones, on the ground in the classrooms. They know what students need, what works, what doesn't.
Right. And speaking of students, we need to remember they're not just, being taught with AI. They're living in a world that's increasingly driven by AI.
So we need to teach them about AI too, not just how to use it.
Exactly. Help them develop the skills to, think critically about how AI is affecting society, make ethical decisions, and solve problems creatively. Because that's the kind of world they're going to be living in, a world where humans and machines are working together.
Those are some pretty complex skills. It sounds like AI in education, it's about way more than just personalized learning or, automating tasks. It's about getting students ready for a future that's, well, changing faster than we can really imagine.
It is. And it's not just about preparing students, it's about preparing society.
So AI in education, it's not just an education issue, it's a societal issue.
Exactly. Think about, the workforce.
Hmm.
If AI can do things like grading or even teaching, what happens to all the people who work in education?
That's a big question. So we need to be thinking about not just how to use AI in schools, but how that affects, society, the economy, everything.
Absolutely. This research brings up some, really big questions
Mm.
about the future of work, what education even is, the role of technology.
It's a lot to think about, but it's also exciting, It feels like we're on the edge of something new and we have the chance to, to shape what that looks like.
You're right. And as we go forward, it's important to remember AI is a tool, like any tool. It can be used in good ways and bad ways.
So the question isn't if AI will change education, it's how we'll use it to change education in a way that, fits with what we believe in, what we want for the future.
Exactly. And that means we need to keep researching, keep evaluating.
Yeah.
As we use AI in schools, we need to see how it's working, get data, and, change things as we go.
It's like this huge experiment, but with really, really high stakes. We're talking about the future of learning and really the future of, society itself.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be both enthusiastic and cautious about AI in education.
Hmm.
We need to be aware of the risks, but also, open to the amazing opportunities.
I agree. It's about finding that balance, using new technology, but also, protecting what's important to us, making sure all students benefit.
Huh. Well said. And as we, go into this new territory, it's important to talk honestly about the ethics of AI in education.
Absolutely. It's not just about the technology. It's about, the values, the principles behind it.
Right. We need to be asking hard questions about data privacy, algorithmic bias, how AI will affect, relationships, social structures, all of that.
Those are some big questions, but we can't ignore them.
You're right. And as we, work through those questions, we have to remember there's no one right answer. How we use AI in education, it'll probably look different depending on, where you are, the culture, the needs of the students.
So it's not about finding the perfect solution. It's about finding solutions that work in different places, different situations.
Exactly. And that means collaboration, experimenting, being willing to learn from, what works and what doesn't.
That's a good point. It's not about getting it perfect the first time. It's about, trying things, adapting, getting better as we learn more about AI in education.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have a lot of different voices in the conversation. Educators, researchers, people who make policy, parents, students, everyone working together.
It's a team effort. We're all in this together.
Precisely. And as we, start on this journey, it's important to remember what education is really about. It's about human connection, about curiosity, about helping people, reach their full potential.
Those are values we should always keep in mind, making sure technology serves humans, not the other way around.
Well said. And on that note, maybe it's time to move to the last part of our deep dive. We can look at some real examples of how AI is being used in classrooms,
Yeah.
around the world.
Sounds good. Let's do it. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground, right? Potential of AI, the challenges, the big picture, society. But I'm really curious about what's happening in classrooms right now. Can you give us some examples of how AI is actually helping students learn?
Oh, absolutely. One area that's really taking off is language learning.
Hmm.
There are a few studies about AI tools that give you personalized feedback, like
Hmm.
on your pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, all of that. So, imagine you're learning Spanish and you have this AI tutor that gives you corrections in real time.
Hmm.
It helps you get the accent right, become
Yeah.
more fluent.
Yeah, it's way better than waiting for the teacher to correct you. Especially when you're trying to get comfortable speaking. What else? What other cool examples are there?
Another thing that was interesting is assessment, how students are tested. Traditionally, it's been a lot of memorization, right? But AI is allowing for um, more authentic assessments. Like there was this study about an AI system that could analyze student writing, but it wasn't just looking for grammar mistakes. It was also looking at like how strong their arguments were, how clearly they expressed their ideas.
It's not just about spelling, it's about how you're actually thinking. That's really impressive.
Yeah. And that kind of assessment, it gives teachers much more information than a multiple choice test. They can see exactly where students are strong, where they need help, and then really tailor their teaching to each student.
That's really powerful. It's like having an AI assistant that helps personalize learning, at a deeper level.
Exactly. And that personalized approach, it's especially helpful for students with special needs. One study found that this AI reading program, it really helped students with dyslexia. It improved their reading fluency and how well they understood what they were reading. The program could change the speed of the text, how difficult it was based on the student. It was customized, in a way that traditional methods just couldn't do.
That's amazing. It sounds like AI can really make learning more inclusive, right? Where every student can get the support they need to succeed.
Absolutely. And it's not only about academics either. AI can help students with, social and emotional skills. There was this study about a virtual agent, an AI, that would help students practice communication, like how to have conversations, how to handle conflict. And the agent would give feedback on your tone of voice, body language, all of that. So help students get more confident in the social situations.
Wow. It's like having a personal social skills coach.
Right. And that kind of support is really helpful for students who maybe have social anxiety or, have trouble understanding social cues.
So we've seen AI for personalized learning, assessment, languages, even social skills. It seems like the possibilities are, I don't know, endless. But what are the researchers really excited about? What's next for AI in education?
Well, one thing that's getting a lot of attention is immersive learning experiences. Think about virtual reality, right?
Yeah.
Students could go back in time, experience historical events, or play these interactive games that teach you really complex science stuff.
That sounds incredible. It's like, making learning come alive in a way that we've never been able to do before.
Exactly. And AI can make those experiences even more personalized. So imagine a history lesson in VR, and it changes depending on what you already know, what you're interested in. Or a science game that gives you challenges based on, what you're good at, what you need to work on.
It's like everyone gets their own custom designed educational adventure.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning. They're also looking at how AI can help with career guidance, tutoring, even designing totally new ways of learning, beyond the traditional classroom.
It's amazing to think about all the possibilities, but I think it's important as we wrap up to remember the human side of things. What's the role of the teacher in this, AI-powered future?
That's a great question. Because, AI can do certain things, it can give us insights, but it's not a replacement for a teacher. Teachers are still essential for creating that, positive learning environment, for helping students develop socially, emotionally, for inspiring them to love learning, beyond just the algorithms.
So it's about finding that right mix. Human intelligence and artificial intelligence, both doing what they do best.
Exactly. The best learning experiences will probably be the ones that combine both. The personalization, the efficiency of AI, but also the empathy, the creativity, the wisdom that, only human teachers can provide.
Well said. It's been really fascinating, this deep dive into AI in education. So, for our listener, you've got a good grasp of what's happening now and, the big questions to keep in mind as things keep changing. Any final thoughts for someone who's been listening closely?
This is a field that's evolving so quickly, so stay curious, Keep learning about what's new, talk about the ethical questions, and, most importantly, really think critically about how AI can be used to create a better education system, one that's fair and that empowers every student.
That's a great takeaway. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And to all our listeners, we'll see you next time.